Hi, guys. Welcome back to a virtual version of The Talk of the Town, a podcast by TheBlock where we sit with interesting people to talk about interesting things. I'm Nikki, your host, and today I'm joined by Mr. Jacob Elmon. Thank you for being with us today.
No, thank you for having me and excited to talk.
Yeah, same here. You were just telling me how you prefer Dubai to the UK.
Yeah, you prefer, I don't know, but I love it there. I was there maybe 6 months ago or before the kind of war situation happened. And yeah, I love it there. It's great. It's great. It's nicer weather for sure.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the crypto community here at all?
Not so much, actually. I have a few friends there, but I know they talk about how there's a big kind of crypto community there, and they're always raving about how great it is, and I should move there. So that's all I hear.
You should, you really should. I agree with your friends. Um, okay, so before we get started, if you could just do like a quick intro to yourself and to Elman X, which I think is going to be the focus of our conversation today, um, that would be great.
Yeah, so my name is Jacob Elmon. I am the co-founder of Elman X. We started the project about 4 years ago, and we specialize in digital collectibles or NFTs, as you want to call them. And yeah, we started. I can go back to 2007. Actually, was the origin of the project, when my father, Brandon Elman, who's also my co-founder on this project, started a project called VeTel. So VeTel was a virtual world which was created almost kind of before the term, metaverse was used. And he spent about $1 million on this project. And he created something which was almost like what we call the sandbox today, or, those kind of projects. But the quality of what he built was just immense. And there's still videos on YouTube, and our community initially, when we restarted this project, I guess if you want to say that, 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
they were all looking at those videos on YouTube and saying, this looks more modern than some of these worlds today. So he has the knowledge and experience in that. And to give you more on that, there was retail shopping going on in this virtual world. So you could go into this world, you could, see a Lamborghini you want to purchase. You could buy it digitally, but you'd also link through to the physical website, so you could have a look at what's going on in the physical world. So it wasn't just cars; it was, football stadiums. There was retail stores where there was clothing outlets, and you could click through. So it was a really kind of early version of where kind of Facebook wanted to go, and all these other companies. And yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, we restarted that project with Elman X, which was originally called VeTel, but we changed the name. So we took that same name, VeTel, which actually stood for virtual retail.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, Elman X came around. We did the first drop, which I can get a bit more into, and it just took off from there. We've done multiple drops and multiple projects since, partnering with OpenSea, Asprey Studios, VeVe, recently the Piet Mondrian Doodles collaboration. So we can get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do, that's really interesting. So VTEL was launched in 2007, you said?
Yes.
How did your father think of that back then? Because I think the first time I heard of the metaverse or like interacted with it in any way was like JITEX 2021, and he was
Yeah.
thinking of this in 2007.
Yeah. He was heavily inspired by Second Life, if you remember that project.
Yeah.
Um, I was a bit too young at the time, so I didn't really see all of what was going on until I was a bit older. But his background's in property and retail, so he took what he knew in that world and he tried to apply it to the digital world, where you could buy pixels and you could, trade the land. And he actually recreated an area of London, Covent Garden as well. So his clients who couldn't buy part of Covent Garden in real life,
Yeah.
could go into the virtual world and buy part of the world there. So it was very forward thinking, and ultimately, looking back on it now, we've been going through these huge servers that they've had, like, uh, ridiculous, like massive servers where we try and extract some of the data on there. But it was too early, I think. A lot of these retailers didn't understand it. And then in 2008, there was the market crash.
Yeah.
So what happened was some of the investors pulled out and the project just didn't get going. But it's on YouTube. I can send you the links afterwards. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
It's
I'd love to
fascinating.
see it. That's really interesting. And how have you changed it and adapted it into what is now ElmonX?
So we learned, I learned going through it, that one of the most interesting parts for me, and it all happened kind of when the blockchain was coming around, and CryptoPunks and CryptoKitties and all these projects, was in his world he had an art gallery, and there was digital art. So it wasn't called an NFT back then, but you could click through it like an NFT. You could see it hovering on the wall in this virtual environment. And we took that element of it, and we, went to a couple artists and brands and things. And when the NFT, stuff started kicking off, that's where we, took these artists and started getting into the NFT world. So we had a couple contacts from that, or he did, and we knew a few other artists, and then it just spiraled. But we took the art element of it, and then the other bits were still, looking at and working on like the fashion elements and the, all of that, cars and things.
Okay. So you mentioned a couple of collaborations that you've done with different artists. I saw the Doodle one. I think it's more recent. So I've seen some of the pictures. But maybe if you could dive deeper into how you pick the artists, and how you what the process is when you're deciding if this would be a successful drop or not.
Yeah, so this goes back to, again, when we did some of the first releases. And the first one we did was an artist called Patrick Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick Hughes, I think, was 83 or 84 years old at the time.
Wow.
If you don't know his artwork, it's everywhere worldwide. He's known for the reverse perspective, he calls it. So the artwork, it looks 3D when you look at it, and it kind of bends and moves and it comes out. It's incredible, really. And we went to Patrick and said, we think your stuff would look amazing in 3D and augmented reality. And the idea of Patrick Hughes was, the first pieces that we looked at were $200,000 pieces, his physical pieces. Mm-hmm. And we said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could give that to people in a smaller form, a cheaper price, and have the same AR and 3D effect? So we spent maybe 7 months recreating his artwork in 3D. And we put it out there on VeVe, actually. It was one of the first releases we did, and we did about 7,000 pieces. And they were $200, and they sold out within a second. So
wait, sorry.
Patrick Hughes.
Were you fractionalizing the art piece, or were you just dropping digital art pieces that were cheaper?
Yeah, so we didn't fractionalize it.
Okay.
We recreated it and did almost like an edition.
Okay.
So we did an edition of, I think it was like 3,000 of one and 3,000 of another one.
Okay.
And then you could just buy an edition, and you'd get, for example, number 1 or number 10 or number 50. But that's what VeVe were kind of known for and built for at the time. And they still are. And the collectors love the mint numbers, and they love hunting the rare ones.
Yeah.
It was just a great fit for VeVe at the time. But on Elman X, we have a partnership with a company called Bridgman Images. If you don't know Bridgman Images, they've been around for over 50 years. And they specialize in working with museums, artists, estates, and all kind of things. And they have a library of hundreds of thousands of artworks. And whereas at the time, VeVe were releasing NFTs of Marvel, Disney, and we obviously saw CryptoPunks and all these other projects. We went down the route of, we should do art, and that's where Bridgman came into it. So one of our first releases was, I've actually got it here, I can show you. I don't know if you can see, but we did this Mona Lisa, right?
Oh my God.
So it's incredible in person, because the way this worked was, with Bridgman, we had the original scan of the Mona Lisa.
Wow.
And we did the front and we did the back. So not many people have seen the front or the back. And yeah, that had over 300,000 people on our website trying to buy these. And that was also one of our earliest launches, which was a crazy time.
What year was this?
I think it was 2021 or 2022. So we entered a little bit after the kind of hype stage.
Yeah.
Once we'd analyzed everything and seen, projects doing scams and things, and we wanted to be the legit people in the space.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Because I think even today when someone like mentions NFT, everyone gets a little bit, I don't want to say like not scared, but like they want to go deeper into it, understand more exactly what it is. And obviously, the reason for that was the whole hype season that we had around 2017, 2018. So, how did you go about building a trustable brand after that fiasco that we had during that time?
Yeah. So one of the earliest lessons we learned was, and it was obvious before we even entered the project, was about how important the community is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our community members, I mean, they've been here since 2021 and they're still here today. And it's a testament of kind of what we've built in terms of respect and trust. So again, when we did this Mona Lisa release, we did 330 editions, and then we did 10 editions of an artist proof, we called it. And we had an error on our website because we were accepting card payments. So at the time, it was mostly ETH and crypto payments. The error was the buy button just kept on going. So it was an error on our website. So you could just keep buying and buying and buying. And luckily, the card payments weren't directly synced to the blockchain, so it wasn't transferring them in NFT, it was just holding the money. So we actually went and refunded, I think it was thousands of payments on that drop because we said we were doing 330.
Yeah.
So it was a positive and a negative because we stuck to our word, right? We took a kind of loss in terms of funds, if you want to call it that, but we were being honest.
Yeah.
But then we had people writing to us saying, I needed this NFT. We had people sending death threats to us. We had people saying they're going to commit suicide. It was horrific, honestly, horrific. And we had to deal with these seriously because we didn't know if they were being legitimate or they were just trying to scam us for an NFT because they wanted to resell it and whatever. So we dealt with that very early doors, and that kind of set us up for the future.
Okay. What? That's crazy. Death threats and
It was crazy. It was crazy.
that's insane. So, what's the biggest lesson that you learned in the beginning stages when you were building up?
From that was just to be transparent and honest. And we also had some launches that we did following up from that. And one of them, I think we had an error in our smart contract, so we deployed a new smart contract and we did the whole thing again, but we honored those original people that purchased. So we've always been very transparent with the community, and we've always tried to honor our word the best we can. And I think, again, that's why they're still around. All the collectors and the customers that we've made, they've had an experience and they're pleased.
Are you an art enthusiast yourself? Like, is that what sparked this project?
Yeah, I grew up having like a lot of these artists that we're now working with. They were like in our houses, like prints and things. So yeah, I've always loved art, been brought up on art. And the interesting thing now is I get to learn so much about art every day. Like for example, when we did the collaboration with Asprey Studios, we worked with the Art Institute of Chicago on Edvard Munch's The Scream. So a lot of people didn't know that there's actually multiple versions of The Scream. The very famous artwork.
Where he stands like this.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a pastel version, there's a lithograph version. I think there's like 7 or 8 different versions. And again, you get to learn about them, if they're on display, if they're not on display, how they came about, what year. It's fascinating. So I'm learning.
I was talking to someone who's also done a few art projects, and they told me one of the biggest challenges they had was they couldn't get the artwork out of the museum because they weren't allowed to. But then the museum did not have the equipment to properly scan the artwork to turn it into a digital version. and so they had to move in an entire like office into the museum and close it
Oh,
down
wow.
for a week to like scan this piece of art. The one they were talking about is a bigger one. I don't know if you heard of Gustav Klint's The Kiss
Yeah,
project.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were telling me about this type of headache. Is there any like friction between the traditional art world and the digital art world, since you're experiencing both somehow?
That's a good question. If I go back just to your previous comment, so this is why Bridgman Images have been so great to us, because a lot of the artwork, they've already got the scans. They don't have to go and do them. But like with the Art Institute of Chicago, they literally took it from their archives and they scanned the front and the back for us. So, we've been lucky in that sense. And then your second question, I guess, in terms of the crossover, I think with this Doodles launch we just did, where we took the Piet Mondrian Trust and Doodles, that's where we've seen the biggest crossover of the audiences, because we had Doodles, which is started as an NFT brand, and obviously they've become a lot more since. And then we had Piet Mondrian, the Trust, which is you can't get more in the art world.
Mm.
So, putting those together, the ArtNet, for example, posted an article about it, and I was reading through the comments, and you get a lot of positive comments, and then you get these art purists, if you want to call them that, or traditional people saying, "How dare you? How Mondrian would have never done that."
Yeah.
But we got it sanctioned from the trust, and they love the fact that it's bringing it to a new audience, and the Doodles who would have never seen, or maybe would have never known who Piet Mondrian was.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've seen that, and we're trying to merge those two worlds.
On the topic of the audience, I'm always interested to know the people that are adapting the digital art, like they're buying the collectibles, they're buying the digital art pieces. Are they more coming from the traditional art space, that art enthusiasts that are now kind of entering into this new space where we're treating art in a different way, or are they mostly degen crypto, NFT community that are coming in and looking at it more like a, I'm gonna buy this, wait for the price to go up and try and sell it, like what? And if it's a mix, which side is contributing more to sort of the digital art community, if you could say?
Yeah, I mean, what surprised me when we started is, so I came from, I guess, the sneaker background, and I used to love sneakers. I still love and collect sneakers, but coins and all sorts of things. And that audience was slightly younger, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that a lot of them transitioned to the NFT world. Like obviously you saw Artifact and all these companies, but our audience is not that. It's a mature audience, and they're really quite, I guess, respectful to what we're doing. We don't really get that many degens and things in our project. I mean, it'd be great if they are. I'm happy to welcome them, but we often have this kind of catch-22 problem of people buy our stuff and they hold it. And some of our collections on the secondary market, there's very low activity. And it's not because there's not interest, it's because they're just not selling. You can see on the blockchain that our collectors, they just love it. They don't want to sell. And as I said, it's kind of like a catch-22. Do you want them to sell or do you not want them to sell? But they're collectors, our community. And they love art. A lot of them know about the art, and a lot of them are new to the art. So they're learning, but they know and recognize these iconic pieces, and they see the value through what we're doing with Bridgman and all these other artists that we work with. So it's a real mix. It's a real mix.
Okay. And then in terms of the art pieces themselves, so you only do, I want to say real, but like physical art that's been scanned, or is there also actual digital art where artists digitally have created the art, like the ape one that was happening back in the day?
It's a mix again. So we do a lot of art that's already created, but we had, for example, an artist called Zoobs or Scooney, where they come in and they make something new that's purely digital. So we don't always do physical, but we've noticed that our community do love the physical.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the Doodles release that we just did, there was 300 physical prints and they sold out, I think, in 10 minutes or something. But you also got a digital with that.
Yeah.
So we didn't opt for like a burn to redeem because we know people want the digital and they would have been upset to burn them. So it always comes into consideration, how many physicals and digitals we do.
Yeah. And then is there a mechanism to transfer the digital to, like, if I sell the physical, I would assume then the buyer would just ask for the digital to be transferred as well, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, for example, one of these Mona Lisas they sold, I think, like 2-3 days ago. I think it was around like $5,000, and we don't know if that included the physical unless the buyer, came out and said, "Oh, I got the physical with it because I negotiated with the buyer." We are working on like a system actually at the moment that kind of puts that together. So it's interesting you bring it up.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that system, or is it confidential?
Not right now, but
Okay.
it'll come out soon. It'll come out soon.
So out of all the drops that you've done so far, which one would you say was the most pivotal? Like it had the most impact on your platform?
Probably the Mona Lisa one, just because it was the beginning, and also the volume of users and the questions and the everything that came with it. But I think then as the market matured a bit, every release we've done has kind of had its own story. So we haven't just typically said we're releasing 1,000 digitals and that's the end of the story. We try and educate people about what we're doing, maybe do a different kind of mechanism when we do releases. And, every launch has its own kind of special kind of twist to it, I guess you could say.
Okay. And how did you land the first major partnership in terms of like IP or the foundation? How did you convince them that this was a good idea?
Well, one of our first was Patrick Hughes, and he was 83 years old.
That's
so
crazy. When you told me his age, for someone to be able to, because like I talk to younger people that still don't comprehend fully what we mean when we say NFT or like digital art. So it's very interesting that not only was he able to, grasp it, but also was interested to like get into it and actually experience it.
It was a difficult one to educate him, but he got it. And as soon as he understood, he said, I like you guys. I like what you're saying. I understand it, and I want to see it. And we had to show him the 3D elements, the AR concept.
Yeah.
We had a couple meetings, but he liked it. And ultimately, a few months later, I think it was after the launch, maybe it was before the launch, but we did an event with Patrick in London, and it was DesignerCon London. And Patrick came along and he got treated like he was Michael Jackson. Everyone was like hugging him, signing his book. He was signing books. It was like a crazy experience. And then he realized how people were telling him, "Oh, I didn't know about you before, but now I know about you because of NFTs," and he loved that. So it's a good study for us.
Yeah, it definitely opens the door to a completely new audience, especially for more traditional artists. I feel like there's a lot of projects and even brands that I'd never heard of until they kind of did something in the space, and then you get the tweets and all, and kind of go deeper and learn more about them. So coming to Doodles, you mentioned them earlier, and like I said, I saw the pictures. They look really cool. So maybe if you could tell us more about that partnership and what you guys did, what you built, how the drop went.
Yeah, so we had this license with the Pierre Mondrian estate, I believe for a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And we knew that we wanted to blend or collaborate with an artist or a brand to make it work. We went to a few, we looked at some samples, and we just didn't find the right fit, I guess. But we loved the Doodles. We'd known about the Doodles for years, and their art style just transcended so well, and it was such a natural fit if you look at the pieces to what they created on them. And it wasn't a hard conversation once we saw the artwork, and we knew before that, but once we saw it, we're like, "Oh yeah, finally, it looks amazing." And obviously Doodles, they have great history in terms of collaborations. I mean, they've done McDonald's, G-Shock, Adidas, the list goes on. So as a brand, they're doing fantastic. And it was more about the way we can make the art style fit and then show it to the trust and say, this is what Doodles are. Do you like it? And, they loved it. And in terms of how the drop went, it started off people questioning, is this legit? Is this a real collaboration with the trust? Have they approved it? And I think once we put out some articles, like Business Insider posted about it, ArtNet, as I said, people were like, oh, wow, this is the trust and Doodles coming together. And we also added in, us as Elman X, and also OpenSea. We did the launch on OpenSea, and also VeVe. There was a free VeVe redeemable for everyone. So the firepower of these kind of 5 brands was insane, and there was millions upon millions of views that we've looked at in the data. And the digital sold out, I think, in 5 minutes or something.
Wow.
It would have been if the transactions weren't getting cancelled and blocked during the launch, because they were being front run and stuff like that. And then the physical sold out in about 10 to 15 minutes. And yeah, I mean, there's already been some great secondary sales of some of the pieces, and yeah, we're preparing now to ship out all the physical prints. We also had an event at NFC Lisbon, so we showed the physicals there. And yeah, it's been great to see those two worlds merge.
That's really cool. So what's next? What's next for you? I saw an announcement for VeVe Stickers, and I'm
Yes.
really interested to know more because in my head it made me think of when I was in school and I had these binders, and me and my friends would get stickers, and then we would like put them in the binder, and then we would trade them with each other, and we had collections. Like I had a butterfly page, a fairy page, things like that. So when I saw it initially, just the title, like that's immediately what I thought of. So tell us more about what it is, what you're building, and why you decided to go into this space as well.
So stickers have been around for, as you said, since you were a kid. Everyone's collected a sticker or has like a core sticker memory. If it's like a football sticker or it's a Panini thing or whatever, they've been around for years. So it's not a new thing in terms of the physical world. Now, these stickers are on Telegram, which is also not a new thing. However, VeVe have always focused on 3D premium digital assets and comics, which is what their core app is for. And they obviously work with Marvel, Disney, and all these other brands and 200 plus artists and things. But this, we've been going back and forth with VeVe for a long time because it's a new vertical which they can get into and which we have now got into because we've done the first release. But we wanted to do it a bit differently. So we kind of looked at the space and thought, can we do packs? So you could buy a pack, you could open it, you could not open it, you could trade it unopened, or you can get the stickers individually and things like that. So we wanted to put our own spin on it. And so I'm leading the project alongside VeVe, and we're going to look to bring on artists and brands as we go forward into that. So it's a new vertical, it's super exciting, and I can't wait to show people what we've got.
That's really cool. I can't wait. I'll definitely be on the lookout for that one. So what's next for Elman X? What's your vision for the platform in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, 5 to 10 years is a long way off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, short term, we're looking to revamp the whole app. So we're going to make it a lot more social. We're going to add in some gaming and things like that. And then in terms of drops and collections, we've got some really good ones lined up. So I'm super excited for those. And yeah, it's going to be a good journey. Can't wait to show you guys. But like, as I said, with the Doodles one, it took 1.5 years or 2 years to get it out.
Wow.
And we've got some other ones like that, which we just, like, I want to say it, but I can't.
What blocks it usually? What makes it take so long?
It's just preparing and making sure everything's correct. So you want to make sure, with the licensing agreements, I mean, that's the biggest thing, the education and the agreements. And then obviously, if there's a second partner involved, you need to make sure that everything's aligned. That's the main thing.
Okay. Well, it was very, very nice speaking with you today. Thank you for joining, and wishing all the best for you and for Elman and VeVe Stickers. Definitely going to be on the lookout for that. Just before we go, where can people learn more about Elman X? What's the best place to go explore?
Yeah, you can just go to the website, elmonx.com. For the VeVe project, you can go to vv.me/stickerverse. Both of them have, X or Twitter channels and Instagrams and things, and you'll find your way around.
Cool. Amazing. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you guys for watching.